Hello, everyone. This is the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Vanita Lambert, and I have a very special guest with me. His name is Al Fashini. He's also my boss and the regional manager for American Senior Benefits. Welcome to the show, Al.
So happy to be here, Vanita. Thank you for having me.
So happy to be here again. We had you on a few months ago. You gave us some great information about Medicare, and we're going to get some really good information today as well. But before we get into that, I have to do my little 1 minute on COVID-19. Connecticut is doing really well, so keep up the good work with crushing COVID. I think as a state, we are over 75% fully vaccinated.
Yes.
And that's really, really good. As a country, I think we're at like 62.3 or whatever, but we're kind of getting there. And it's just so important to do your part to crush COVID, whether it's for you, whether it's for your grandchild, or whether it's for a school teacher. You know, it's all about us. There is no you, there is no I. You know, it's us and it's we. So we all have to stick together and do what we need to do to crush COVID, whether that's vaccination, wear a mask, whatever, quarantine, whatever it is you need to do. So I appreciate that because there are some places I'm able to go without a mask. Yes. And it feels really normal.
I'll tell you, I woke up at midnight when I was eligible for my vaccine to register so I can get my vaccine.
Me too.
Midnight. I literally got up at midnight. You know, I just think it's just so important. And, you know, it's sad. Yesterday, I was in Bristol to visit one of my clients in a COVID ward, and I was so depressed. One of my clients, and I mean, they made me put on a blue outfit, you know, gloves.
Like a hazmat suit and all that stuff.
It was just one of the most depressing things I've ever seen in my life. I just don't know how healthcare workers, I'm just so blown away how they can stay positive in such an unimaginable environment. It was shocking to me.
Yes.
Literally last night.
I totally understand what you mean, and I commend all the health workers to the point of no return. So I want to switch gears here. I want to talk about asset protection. I want to talk about long-term care, how to protect yourself, how to protect your family, especially if you have a family member that goes into a nursing home. So just to tell you a little bit about my situation, I'm getting emotional. I just thought about that. My mother was in a hospital for a couple of weeks. She had a bunch of issues, and she just got moved to Ludlow, a nursing home. And it's really no fun. And we just found out a couple of days ago that she has COVID. So we're, you know, and she's 82 years old.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't wish that on anyone. If you have someone you love and care about and you're able to protect them, we're going to give you some really valuable information about asset protection, about long-term care, about protecting the spouse that may be in the nursing home, and how to protect the assets for the community spouse. And so that's why I invited Al here. He's an absolute genius on that subject.
So yeah, thank you, Vanita.
You're welcome.
It's probably one of the most important topics. So I've been a financial advisor, and I've been in the financial service industry since 1985. And I started my career working for a life insurance company. And one of the things that just always blew my mind, that children were coming in to surrender life insurance policies that their parents had for 30 years. And I just couldn't understand, that they had to spend down. It just made no logical sense to me when I started out when I was 21 years old. I couldn't understand it. It just kind of blew my mind. And I always felt that there's got to be a way, And
right.
I was influenced by an elder law attorney that, in 1986, that has still been an important part of my practice, and just making sure that people understand what they need to understand. And what I find more than anything else, that nobody's all set. Nobody's put their affairs in order, and it really starts off with some basic tools that they need to have in effect. Everything from a basic power of attorney, and having the right and correct power of attorney is so important, Because one of the most important situations is you might have to shift assets between spouses, and if you don't have your affairs in order, especially in a time like COVID, you have the inability to do that. So there's an awful lot you can do. So for full disclaimer, I am not an attorney. I am not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just telling you that you need to seek proper help. And what I do is I influence my clients to be able to get the right information from the right attorneys,
Right.
just making sure that everything's done properly, because there's a lot of mixed information out there. And it really starts with making sure that you have the ability to act on your spouse's behalf. And the second thing, you hear words like community spouse. For the purposes of Title 19 and long-term care, everything's community property.
Okay.
I don't care how your assets are titled. You can have a 401k. Doesn't matter. It's community property for the purposes of Title 19. So all assets are combined. So that's the first thing people have to, wrap their head around, is that, I don't care how you title your assets.
When you're married, it's all
yes,
combined.
and you have a limit of what you can keep, what the community property is able to keep, the community spouse is able to keep, and it's $130,380, and that's the max. They can keep half of the assets up to $130,380.
But excuse me, what if the assets are, what if you have, say, $3 million in assets? Then
Yes.
what happens?
So what's
after that?
interesting about Title 19, and whether you're looking at Title 19 home care or whether you're looking at Title 19 nursing home care, assets are community property, but income is separate. So the community spouse at home can keep an unlimited amount of their own income.
Okay.
So they can do planning around there, turning assets into income that are not part of spend down. And again, very much so, you have to look at and talk to the professionals. This has to be with conjunction with an elder law attorney. I cannot stress that. It cannot be done without
Right.
the coordination of an attorney. But there's so much you can do. I think the biggest tragedy I see is when people spend down when they don't have to spend down. And call it a loophole, but the laws are the laws, and they're very, very clear on the things that you can do. And we're very blessed that Connecticut has a phenomenal home care program also. So I think seeing a professional like Vanita and doing a full review and making sure that your affairs are in order, making sure that you have powers of attorney where you're able to act on your spouse's behalf. Just because you're married, you cannot act.
Exactly.
You cannot legally act on your spouse's behalf. If you don't have a healthcare representative and your spouse is not named as a healthcare representative, you don't have the legal ability to help them through everything.
Exactly.
And something like COVID, a stroke, things that the unintended consequences of not having your affairs in order, or having outdated information, having a power of attorney that doesn't let you do certain things. So seeing a competent elder law attorney, I cannot stress,
Right.
and and I just guide my clients through all that. Just making sure that they get the right information. And that's what we do at American Senior Benefits, making sure that we give them the right information, that they're getting the right resources when they really need it.
Right. So just the community spouse, just for clarification, is the well spouse.
That's right. And then you have the institutionalized spouse.
Institutionalized one is the person that's in a nursing home. So if you have a wife in a nursing home and you have $3 million in assets,
There are things you can do. There are things
there's
you can
a
do
lot of
legally.
things you could do to protect your assets.
That's right. And you also have to understand it's not just nursing home care. We have a great Medicaid home care program in the state of Connecticut. And people can be over income. There's income limits on that, and there's things they can do with that. We have a pooled trust which allows you to bring down your income, and you can spend that on things that you need in the household and pay your bills. So there's things you can do. And again, I can't stress getting the right information is crucial and essential. Because you look at the statistics, it's never going to happen to me. The biggest risk factor individuals have is longevity. You live a long life. You will become chronically ill before you pass away. And that chronic illness can last 1 week and it can last 8 years if it's dementia or Alzheimer's. And women because women live longer, they have a 79% chance of needing care at some point in their lives.
That's unbelievable.
And my mother's 92 years old. She gets 3 hours of home care a day from a home health care agency. So again, it's just and I'm blessed that I bought long-term care insurance years and years and years ago. I think, I paid for my mother's long-term care insurance, and my wife said, she said, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? But I understood that, that's the best way I can help, is by having long-term care insurance. So now my mother has a state of Connecticut partnership long-term care policy that's paying for her home care. And as she needs more and more care, we have the ability to have the resources to pay for it. And, my mother needed a stair lift. It's so interesting.
Yes.
My mother never would have bought a stair lift. But the long-term care policy paid for it.
Yes, it does. The home health care,
So I thought that was, absolutely amazing.
It's a part of the plan that's in there if you have stairs in your house.
So you have to look at everything.
Yes.
You have to look at everything. You have to look at your situation. Some people may not have been able to purchase long-term care insurance, that they're not healthy enough to do it now. Might be too expensive, but there are things they can do on the fly. Some people will transfer assets to their children. That's wrong, in a lot of instances. First of all, there's a whole bunch of unintended consequences that can take place.
Like a spouse? Your children could marry.
Divorce.
Yes.
Children could get a divorce. Children can be sued. All unintended consequences where trust might make a lot more sense. And then people keep life use. People don't realize life use has a value to it. Based upon how old you are. Life use, you didn't transfer the full value of the home. So all these unintended consequences that could affect individuals, that they don't realize it. They think they've done everything right, but they may not have seen the right professional to guide them through the maze of long-term care planning and chronic illness planning. So the biggest risk factor people have is longevity. Making sure, and that's what we try to do. That's what I try to do with every single one of my clients. And I really, in my heart and soul, believe that's how we differentiate ourselves.
Exactly.
Nobody's doing what we're doing. It's not about selling insurance. It's about making sure your affairs are in order, and nobody's all set. And, I got a couple of corny, it may sound corny, nobody's all set.
Nobody's all set.
And if
everything.
not now, when are you going to do it? It's too late when someone gets sick, is incapable of acting on their own behalf. Not now, when?
Exactly.
And I really feel in my heart and soul, if not us, who?
Exactly. Because one of the things that I really am passionate about is that our company does. We will go into a home, even if you have a long-term care policy. I have reviewed long-term care policies for some of my clients that they had, 20, 30, 40 years ago. They did not understand the contract. Exactly. Like, they had no idea what an elimination period was, and some of them were 12 months.
Sure.
So if you have a long-term care policy with the company, it's not a bad idea to even get it reviewed again, because just to understand all the contents of the contract, especially an elimination period. If you have a long-term care contract or plan with a 12-month elimination period, that means you got to pay for it for a year before the plan kicks in.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that I found in my
yes, and I think a lot of companies frustrate people going through the claim process, and I'm going to be honest with you, because they're not sure how to do it. They're not getting, I help my clients go through the claim process.
We fill out the claim forms.
The one thing I can tell you is once the claim is approved, it's like clockwork. There's home health care agencies that we assign the benefits to. Like my mother, we assign the benefits to the agency. So the agency fills out the monthly claim paperwork. We don't reimburse them. The money goes directly to the agency.
Yep.
And I don't even get involved at all. My mother doesn't have to get involved. So it just makes things easier in dealing with the experts. And I know in my heart and soul that that's us,
Absolutely.
Because I pride myself on what we've, experienced over the years. And, being in the business since 1985, you experience everything, and that's made me a better person in guiding people through, again, that maze of long-term care planning. So you have a couple of different scenarios. You have people that are healthy and young, and they may want to plan for their inevitable longevity, and they may have had a personal experience where a parent might need care, and they might have dementia or Alzheimer's in their family, and they want to put their affairs in order. That's one avenue of planning. There might be an individual that might be, a little older and may not qualify for long-term care, or they might have an unhealthy spouse, and they have to do planning differently.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that I see, they might have a spouse with cognitive issues, and if the healthy spouse passes away, all the assets go to the person that's cognitively impaired. And then now it's all going to be spent down. All the unintended consequences, there's nobody to act on the person's behalf.
So it's spent down unless what happens? Unless you sit down with the right
Put your
person and
affairs in
protect
order.
yourself, put your
Yes.
affairs in order, because no one's all set.
No one's all set.
Nobody's
It's
all
shocking, and your situation's going to change over time. And I think having the resources, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power,
It is.
and that's what we pride ourselves on. And we're not giving the legal advice. We're working in conjunctions with elder law attorneys that know what they're doing.
Exactly.
I think it's just so crucial and essential, getting the right information.
I'll tell you, I love what we do. I've only been in the business since 2014. And when I first started in this business, just like everybody else, I needed money to pay my bills. And that was it. But somewhere along the line, this became like a ministry to me, like a passion for me. I sit down with folks, and I do it for no reason, for no money at all. I help people just because I want to help people. I give them information because I came from a community where there was no information.
Yes.
And if you don't have any information, there's no way you can take advantage of the benefits. So I pride myself, and I'm passionate about getting the information out, getting the word out, sitting down with you, doing free confidential needs analysis on Medicare, long-term care, final expense planning, retirement income, making sure that you don't run out of money. The 4 things that keep people up at night.
That's
How
right.
am I going to pay my medical bills? And the average person that retires at age 65 to like maybe 95, because we're all living so much longer,
Sure.
spends probably about $200,000 on either premiums, health care, co-pays, and deductibles, medications, and things like that. Most people don't know that. If you know that, you can plan for it.
And I think the biggest challenge is the misinformation that's out there, the
Absolutely.
television commercials that kind of distort the truth.
Yes, yes.
I really think, dealing with the experts that know the rules in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with Vanita, she knows the rules, she understands the system, and every state is different. Every product is different in the Medicare arena. So you get a lot of misinformation based upon nationwide benefits that are not applicable within the state of Connecticut, or they may not qualify for the benefits under the Medicare Savings Program and certain subsidies that are available in the state of Connecticut. So just, again, misinformation.
Oh, there's so much of it. I had a client, I'll tell you real quick, in Stanford. I, enrolled her in one of my plans, United Healthcare plan, in October. Somebody called her, I guess, in November, December, before the AEP was over,
Yes.
changed her plan to another plan. This person called from Florida.
Sure.
And changed her plan. Now she has to go to the doctor, and she doesn't know which plan she has.
Sure.
So you just got to be careful of who you're talking to, where they are calling from, and what they have
Yes.
to offer. It's just so much of that going on. I just think that if you have representation that you can sit down with and look in the eye, call the cell phone when you have a
Yes.
problem with your medication, I think that's it's priceless. There's no amount of money that you could put on that.
There's so much misinformation.
There
That's
is.
the biggest thing. That's the biggest obstacle I
It
find
is.
over it.
It really
They might
is.
get information from a friend, a family member, a neighbor, and it's not the same. Every situation is different. So dealing with a professional, we go in and we basically go in and we just try to get a total understanding of what are you trying to accomplish. What's at risk. We just give you an education, and that's what it's all about. And we guide you through, again, that maze of retirement planning. And there's different stages of retirement, you know?
Yes.
But the biggest risk factor is longevity. If you live a long life, you will become chronically ill. If you live a long life, you'll go through different market cycles where the stock market's gonna go up and down. If you live a long life, inflation's gonna decimate your retirement income. And that's what we do. Those are the things, those 4 things that keep people up at night.
Absolutely.
Planning for a chronic illness. Everyone believes it's not gonna happen to them, but unfortunately, if you live a long life, it will.
It could.
And COVID's thrown a monkey wrench in everything. You know, I can't tell you, you know, again, how many people don't have a will and they don't understand the implications of not having a will. If you don't have a will, the state of Connecticut has a will for you.
Oh, yeah, they do.
You
They'll
know,
take everything.
And if you don't have a long-term care plan, the state of Connecticut has a long-term care plan for you.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's spend down.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just so important making sure that all the documents are placed. You have a living will. You know, do I want to be put on life support, healthcare directives? You have a healthcare representative. You know, making sure that you have the right power of attorney. Having the wrong power of attorney is like having no power of attorney at all. And that's what people don't realize. You have to have certain powers within that power of attorney to be able to protect assets. And, you know, we just want to be the resource.
Exactly.
You know, being that resource.
Exactly.
And long-term care insurance does play a role, but not everyone can afford it. Not everyone is healthy enough to get it. There still are other alternatives. And that's where we're able to help.
And today, you know, insurance is so innovative. We have long-term care plans where there's no underwriting.
Yes.
You know, well, actually, let me back up. It's not long-term care, it's home health care. If you choose to stay in your home and you need care, and say you had a stroke 5 or 10 years ago, you would not qualify for the traditional long-term care, you can get home health care at home. So there's still something available if you need help. And that's amazing, I think, that, you know, people are able to get some type of home health care. And when I sit down with most folks, 90% of them, whether they have a long-term care plan or not, want to be in their home. They want to stay home. They don't want to go.
In Connecticut, we have, there's a Medicaid home care program.
Exactly.
So Connecticut, you can stay in your home. So don't forget that. So going on Title 19 is you're shifting yourself from being the payer and you're putting it on the state.
Exactly.
And that's got to be the goal. And like I said, if I can get home care and get the state of Connecticut, and it may sound kind of cheap or what, you know, but there's legal ways to do it, to get the state of Connecticut and going on Title 19, and you need to explore those options.
Absolutely, and protect your assets and protect your family.
Everybody.
It's just, you know, it's a smart thing to do. It's not cheap, it's smart. That's what I would do.
No, and one person spending down because they got the wrong information, and another person protected everything fully because they got the right information.
Exactly.
And again, I made that my passion. I'm so passionate about protecting assets and guiding them in the right direction. And again, it's not just us. We work with a team. Having the right attorney in place is crucial and essential.
Exactly.
It's a coordination. It's working together with the right team, and that's the key to making sure your affairs are in order. You know, I've also seen people that they may have thought they put their affairs in order at the attorneys, but then they mistitled assets. So the assets don't pass the way they're supposed to pass because, again, they didn't have their hands held through the process. I think that's so important because you'll go see an attorney and you might be absolutely overwhelmed. And I think that's where all the mistakes get made.
Really?
You know, oh my God, yes.
So
the titling is equally as important as, you know, every asset's passed by will if they're solely in your name. Mm-hmm. But if I have it in joint because I put my daughter on my bank account, what happens is that'll bypass my will, and that's an unintended consequence of titling assets improperly, and you can be bypassing your other children and not realize it. You know, all the unintended consequences where a power of attorney made a lot more sense. Your daughter can act on your behalf through a power of attorney and not joint titling. So you get all this misinformation. The bank's giving you the wrong, the bank teller's telling you what to do, and that's insanity.
Yeah. I didn't even know
It's got to come from
that.
a planner. It's got to come from an attorney.
Yeah.
Assets will only pass by your will if it's solely in your name.
Oh my
And if
God.
you have over $100,000 solely in your name and you're married, the state of Connecticut, when you die intestate,
Probate.
anything beyond, no, and it's not even probate. Probate's not a bad word in the state of Connecticut, please. And that's all the misconceptions. Probate's expensive, probate's expensive. No, it's not. It's the legal work that gets expensive, because again, people don't understand. But the biggest point that I'm making is anything beyond $100,000, 50% of it goes to your children and 50% to the spouse. So you might be leaving assets to your children where you didn't intend to.
Right.
At that
okay.
time. At that time. You know.
Gotcha. Question: what if you have your mother pass and you get your inheritance, okay, from your mom, and it's like an inherited IRA money, qualified money?
Yes. So non-spouses, when they inherit an IRA, the Secure Act changed the laws of how you inherit an IRA. Before, you were able to inherit an IRA and take the minimum distributions over your life expectancy. Now you have to take it out over 10 years.
10 years, yep.
So different planning, different techniques, there's different things you need to realize, but you can inherit a non-spouse's IRA and pay no taxes when you get it, where you only pay the taxes when you distribute the money out over 10 years. And it doesn't have to be done equally, just by the 10th year it must be distributed out.
That's great information.
Also, understanding anything that has capital appreciation, a stock, when someone passes away and it goes to a child, it has what is called a stepped up cost basis, so children inherit those assets tax-free. And they can immediately liquidate those assets.
Awesome. That's
and
awesome.
And then the last, and again, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on. I just think understanding the rules is so crucial.
And getting the information from the right people. Al, thank you so much. We have about 1 minute left. This show goes by so fast. We have such great information. I didn't even realize our time was almost up. So we got like 30 seconds left. What would you like to leave our audience with, Al?
I really feel in my heart and soul, you have a question, call Vanita. If you're not sure if your affairs are in order, call Vanita. Allow us to just sit down, review, and give you an understanding of what needs to be done to get your affairs in order. What you don't know will hurt you. That's my biggest message. That's my biggest message.
What you don't know will hurt you. And that call is free. We do free confidential needs analysis in home or at one of our offices in Shelton or in Farmington. So Al, thank you so much for coming on. That's our show for today. Follow us on YouTube. This is the David Goodman Reality and Truth Show, and we're on your side.
Thank you.